I'm here actually in the Irish Writers Centre looking at the launch of the new book, which I'll discuss shortly with Gerry Adams. But just dealing with the present book, Gerry, I came across a first paragraph which I think would be very apt if you wouldn't mind just reading it as an introduction.
Where do I begin my story? Perhaps by introducing myself. My name is Gerry Adams. My life began in 1948 in the city called Belfast on the island called Ireland. Belfast is the second city of this island, but it holds less than 500,000 souls. I have lived here all my life. Belfast is a fine city. Its greatest asset is its people. But for all our fine points, we Belfast people are divided in our loyalties and subjected on this account to great difficulties. The last 30 years or so have been very cruel years. I have survived them so far. Many others have not. Friends, enemies, people I knew well, others I did not know at all. It's a wonder to me that we have come through it all.
Gerry, just continuing from that, looking at your early childhood, you see, it's very easy for people in the South, like myself, you know, who had teenage years growing up playing football out on the road, getting up to the normal things that teenagers would. But growing up in an area there, in an environment like that, where you'd go outside your door, maybe your parents said, well, you know, Gerry, or the rest of your family, you can't go beyond such a point. There is a problem there. There's a dividing line. You looked out your door, you saw soldiers on the streets, you heard bombs going off, etc. What was it really like growing up in an atmosphere like that?
Well, I was lucky enough and old enough that my growing up was done before that. And I suppose many of the dividing lines are no different from those which parents would put on their children today. I mean, none of us are allowed to wander off aimlessly. We're all told, don't go beyond that point and don't go beyond that corner and be back at such and such a time and make sure you're in early and so on. So I wasn't conscious at all of the politics of the situation until my mid-teens. And I wasn't conscious of the poverty in which we were reared, basically because everybody else was equally poor. Yes. So I have to say I had a very happy childhood, and it might have been no different. And one of the gratifying things about this book is that people who I've met who come from the same sort of city/country environment. I mean, I was reared on the lower slopes of the Black and Divis Mountains in a big housing estate, not unlike Tala of today, or an equivalent housing estate in Limerick or Cork. So I've met people from those places, and I've met people from Liverpool and London and Manchester who have said to me, that was the same for us.
Yes.
And some of them have said to me the bit they liked about the book was the growing up bit of the book.
When actually you met the past Pope, John Paul II, you saw what he did about the fall of communism in Poland. We all know that, the great work that he did. Did it hurt you or disappoint you or your people that the church was not fully behind what you were trying to do, which was literally basic human rights for people?
Yes, but it's a hierarchy more than the church. There was no leadership. Mm-hmm. It wasn't even that there wasn't a Romero or an Archbishop Tutu. There wasn't even a Paisley. There wasn't anybody standing up and saying, at a time, I mean, just reflecting this for a second, if you're a Catholic, you're a legitimate target. So purely on the basis of a person's religious belief, they could, and many were, killed. Some people were butchered, some people were savaged. It was just a dreadful situation. And the lack of leadership, and I'm not really that interested in getting into a big debate about this, but the lack of leadership in terms of the church's own teachings, which is all about the dignity of the human being, and where successive popes have argued that the church needs to be engaging with people in their social and economic ways of life and being about the business of empowering and liberating people. So of course it was a disappointment.
One other aspect that always intrigued me, looking at your various phases of life and history, you know, on many different occasions when it was difficult for you with Catholics or Republicans being shot down or killed, but you always seem to have that type of outgoing spirit of worry and concern about even the other people of other side, maybe the Protestants or whatever, that you felt even a certain sorrow for them as well, because they were all human beings in one area.
Well, the essence of republicanism is that the people are sovereign. And, in terms of Irish republicanism, it is about the unity of Catholic Protestants and dissenters. So we're the people who need to be above sectarianism. And I have to say, and this is true today, the social and economic conditions for the people in the Falls Road, where I live, are exactly the same as those of the people on the Shankill Road. And for the life of me, I still can't tell a Protestant from a Catholic by looking at them. So, I just see this as being a very, very artificial division between people, and I don't see how anyone who's serious about their politics couldn't be touched by the fact that young children in a working class area aren't ever going to have a chance of becoming, if they want, barristers or solicitors. They aren't even going to get a chance to have a decent job at manual labour if they want, and the educational system is not tuned in to meet their needs, and all of the other difficulties that arise from poverty, like domestic violence and alcoholism and drug abuse and so on and so forth, are always visited upon those who are the poorest. So I can't, for the life of me, say, well, I only support and I only work for those people who happen to be Catholic.
Yes.
We're never about that. Equality is for everyone. It isn't for one sect or one caste or one creed.
There was one aspect of the last session where Martin McGuinness was Minister for Education, and the feedback from both sides of the divide was always extremely positive. Doesn't it really show that when there is dialogue and communication with people, if people can break down those barriers, all of these other things can open up into a very positive thing?
Absolutely. And the experience, particularly, and I got this from people in the Protestant churches consistently, because Martin kept open small Protestant rural schools. The British minister and the Department of Education in the North had taken a decision to close these schools. Martin turned it totally upside down and made sure that those small schools stayed open. He also brought about an end to the 11 plus. And I got that feedback right across the spectrum of the Protestant churches. And you're absolutely right. It's my view that people respond to the political conditions in which they live. So politics should be about changing the political conditions so that people can respond in a different way. And the way we want them to respond is in a way which simply means that they can enjoy life and have whatever is deemed to be happiness, and not burdened or crippled by poverty or debt or a lack of education or all the other difficulties.
Now, I know that you're a man under extreme pressure at the moment, time-wise, but one aspect as well, again, as I was doing in my introduction, it's hard for people in the South maybe to understand the emotional loss that you suffered as well during these very hard, brutal years, because you yourself suffered loss of friends and family relations as well. How were you able to convert that into a positive move to get such energy to keep a peace process going when so many other people might have been against you, that you kept it going and going? Was it over the loss of people in the hunger strikes and all round of that as well? Was that part of the mechanism and the motivation that kept you going? Because other people naturally would become bitter or just give up.
Well, first of all, it's not down to me. Just there are lots of people there. I'm part of a collective. But a long time ago, I learned that negative feelings are destructive of the person who has them. Yes. If you hate someone, that person is unlikely to be affected by your hatred. Mm-hmm. But as you sustain that hatred, you become the victim. You become, I suppose, consumed by it. So I believe in positive thinking, and I think that we should see all of these issues. I mean, even the way the birds are singing in the corner.
They had even to come in
Yeah,
here to
I know,
sing
yeah.
for you. Gerry, just finally before we go, it would be a great pleasure for listeners and for all of us if you would read The Cure at Troy, because I know this particularly has a lot of meaning for you personally.
Okay, thank you. And I don't know if I can do this justice, but I'll do my best.
Absolutely.
Human beings suffer. They torture one another. They get hurt and get hard. No poem or play or song can fully right or wrong, inflicted and endured. History says, don't hope on this side of the grave, but then once in a lifetime, the longed for tidal wave of justice can rise up, and hope and history rhyme. So hope for a great sea change on the far side of revenge. Believe that a farther shore is reachable from here. Believe in miracles and cures and healing wells. And that's from Seamus Heaney's
Yes.
The Cure at Troy.
And one final statement. I know this is the launch of your new book here today, which is, again, we wish you the very best of success with that. Your aspirations for the future, leaving out the election mode and all of that. If you were in a party of government, which indicates that you may very well be, what would your aspirations be for this country as an island as a whole?
Well, the book, which is called The New Ireland, A Vision for the Future, is about trying to give some sense, for me personally, of the meaning of modern republicanism. So modern republicanism is about the future. It's about an all-Ireland republic. It's about the proclamation being made a reality. But it's also about the here and now. It's about equality. It's about people's rights. It's about the wealth being used in a way which gives us decent health services, gives us decent public services. And that people who rightly, and we should celebrate how wealthy we have become, will measure our successes and how that wealth is used for everyone.
Gerry Adams, thank you so much indeed. It was a pleasure talking to you, a great pleasure for me personally as well.
Fair play.
Thank you so much.
And thank you. Thanks.